episode 2 of the Duel podcast. Today's show, we're going to be talking to Matt from Sin, owner of Sin, and reviewing the card that I previewed on episode 1 of the show, Sin 618. See how the predictions went down, see how I did, see how the fighters did, see what I think I should have changed. But that'll be a fun one, kind of a review of what I previewed, just to see the results and how everything went. So Matt will be joining me later in the show, and we got a couple questions for him that I'm going to ask him as well. Mostly for me, but we'll see how that goes. He'll be joining me a little bit later in the show. But first things first on the show, I wanted to use the first segment of today's show, which I hope to get out by Wednesday or Thursday at this point. The big thing for me is I wanted to use the segment of this show to thank everybody, because I posted episode 1, it would have been a week ago or so now, and the response to it has been, in large part, almost universally positive. Everybody said I did a great job on it, even though I think my voice sounds like garbage. They said the quality was good, so this is pretty basic setup. I mean, I've got a USB headphone mic. I've got Audacity recording software, which is a freeware software that you can get off the internet. And then I just edit it myself, put it in Windows Movie Maker, and spend a couple hours each show kind of polishing everything up. Then I post it on YouTube, and people seem to enjoy it. People seem to like it, so I'm going to try and keep going with it. I mean, my goal is to get, I said, a show every 10 days to 2 weeks or so. So my goal is to get about 2 or 3 of these a month out when I have the ability to do so. And hopefully, by the goal that I've kind of set for myself is I hope to be adding a 0 to this 2 by the end of the year. So by the end of 2019, if people are still interested in it, if people still want it, I'm hoping by the end of 2019 we'll get to episode 20 instead of episode 2. So we'll see how that goes, see if that's a realistic goal or not. It all kind of depends on my work situation and my job, because these take, like episode 1 probably took me 6 or 7 hours to put together. I am working part-time right now. If I work full-time, then that could go by the wayside, but we'll have to see. I kind of need the money, guys. It's a thing. I kind of need it. So I wanted to spend the first segment of the show here just saying thank you to everybody. The response has been great. A lot of people have been saying, how can I get involved? This sounds really good. It sounds like you're serious about it. This is something that the community would really, really like. So I've had a lot of people saying, how can we make it bigger? I had some people, for people who don't visit the forums, I had people in the forum thread saying, why'd you focus on Sin first? Sin is the biggest. You should be focusing on the smaller orgs. I have a goal of focusing a little bit on everybody, and it's one of those situations of Sin was first to be featured because Sin was the first to ask about the project after I posted about it. And these things, as I said, I have to prep my notes before the show for any previews that I do. I have to record and produce the show. I have to edit the show. I have to upload the show. Each show takes hours of my time to do. So it's one of those things that I feel like I should be properly compensated for. Like, I like doing it, but it's going to take quite a bit of time. So compensation for me had some importance. And Sin was saying, just go ahead and do it. and we'll pay you and do whatever we need to do. They felt like they had a big card coming up, and it was a huge card. And I'm happy to say they were very happy with the project. So there'll probably be more from Sin in the future. We've got Matt on today. As I said, we're gonna review it with him and go over everything with him. Um, Spoiler alert: my predictions went okay, but not great. We'll get into that. But I've talked to people say big and small. I can honestly say that I've reached out to just about every org in the game about doing something. I've definitely reached out to the top 8 or 10 for sure. Synchronicity wanted to be involved. CEC's kind of on the fence. Gamma, they were very respectful in saying they weren't sure if they were interested. I've gotten some interest from Empire, some interest from Pulse, some interest from Rise, Budokai. Lots of orgs seem to be at least somewhat interested in, if not doing a full preview, doing a main event or a co-main event or just a plug to tell you about a tournament or whatever the case may be. So that's something that I hope to spread around a little bit. It depends on, if they feel like it's in their budget to do, then we can do it. I'm not discriminatory towards any org or any people. I haven't been here long enough to not like any of the org owners yet. So that's an advantage to me is I'm coming back and this feels fresh to me again. It's been, as I said in episode 1, it's been probably 5.5, 6 years since I played last, and I've been back for 6 months. And I'm really quite enjoying this. Breaking news from me is that since the last episode, have sold my org. Ajax Fight Club in Amsterdam. It is now named Pride. It is now in Tokyo. I got an offer from the Empire Group and Chuck W. And it was one of those situations where he was willing to finance some of the things I wanted to do. He wanted to back the org. He wanted something in the unrestricted business. And he needed somebody to run it on a day-to-day basis, which is the part that I enjoy doing most anyway. The matchmaking, the arena booking, the event prep, all of that stuff. So I'm still doing everything in it. I'm still running the entire show. It's just a case of the name's been changed, the logo's been changed, the location's been changed, and we're excited to get a fresh start on it. So that was a big thing. And then after that was done, excuse me, after that was done, I went out and I felt, okay, I've done the org thing, still kind of doing the org thing. I've done the clothing thing. I've done the gym thing. I've never done nutrition. I kind of want to do that, just because it's the last thing, the final frontier for me to do. So I reached out to a few people, and I ended up striking a deal to buy Zenith Nutrition, which is one of my favorite nutrition companies in the game. Kyle's been very gracious, and he's had a couple of fighters in my org before, and I personally have used their products, and I know they're top-notch, top quality, as he's kind of said in the past. I think I read in a thread one time that the Zenith Energy Loss was just straight up steroids with a little bit of tree bark added for color. So, Chuck and the Empire Group that I'm involved with own HGH, and now I own Zenith. So I'm big in the org business and big in the nutrition business, which I definitely I'm proud of, and hopefully everybody will be willing to support the podcast and support the endeavor. And we've got a lot of people who are, I don't want to say addicts, but pretty close. It's a tight knit community, but the people who are in the community are pretty hardcore about it. So that's pretty cool. So thanks so much to the community for allowing me to do this. And this is something that you guys have enjoyed. So I just wanted to spend the first segment of the show just kind of thanking everybody, telling everybody what's up and what we plan for in the future, and telling you that hopefully there's a lot more coming. Now, after this quick break, I'm going to bring Matt on the show, and we'll get started with the Sin 618 review. Promotional consideration paid for by the following: HGH Nutrients. When regular steroids just aren't good enough, visit HGH Nutrients, located on the New York High Street, an official sponsor of Empire 310K. They have 5 Monster 160 supplements for all of your fighting needs. The king of the EQ-bit is ready to serve you at HGH Nutrients in New York. Urban Fighter in New York continues the tradition of providing stylish clothing for great prices. Need to stand out on your way to the cage? Don't delay and come and see what Urban Fighter has in store for you. Only the hottest designs for cold-hearted fighters at Arcticus University London. Arcticus University London is a long-time London staple, stylish by nature and affordable by design. So visit us on the high street and get yours today. Budokai Fighting Federation, the premier 330K promotion, would like to remind you that at BFF 61, we will be witnessing the dramatic conclusion of the Budokai Featherweight Grand Prix. One man will be crowned the new king of 145. Will it be Disco Kid or Hitoshi Yoshida? Tune in on March 2nd to find out. Okay, everybody, so for part 2 of the show, as I mentioned before, we are going to have a special guest as we go over the Sin 618 review. If you listen to part 1 of the show, or edition 1 of the show, I went over and did a preview of the event, and we're going to see how my predictions panned out and see if we had any surprises for the event on Saturday with the owner of Sin himself, Matt.
Hello, hello, hello. It is I, Matt. Alex. Matt.
The legend.
Shit.
The legend himself.
Man, I'm having a bit of an identity crisis here. Am I Alex or am I Matt?
You sound like Matt to me.
Oh, okay.
I've heard both
right.
of you, so.
Good point.
I'm guilty. Or complicit, whatever the...
You talked to Alex before I did? I'm joking. I'm only joking.
Looking in a mirror. So...
There's no mirrors around me.
Yeah. So we've got Sin 618, and this is probably one of the biggest cards in 2019 so far.
So far, yeah. Yes.
Three major title fights.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to go fight by fight through the card here and kind of say, here's what we thought was going to happen, here's what actually happened, and why are we surprised, or why is this expected? So let's get started with that. On the undercard here, the first fight we had was Blair Darrow versus Tyrell Smoochie Wallace. Or
Tyroyle. That's what I call him.
Wallace. And as I said in my preview, this is kind of 2 old lions fighting for their spot on the roster. And I predicted a KO TKO for Darrow. And I've got the commentary up on my screen, and that's exactly what happened. Was
KO round 3.
basically domination by Darrow
Yeah.
front to back, and Wallace is no longer a member of your roster. Is that correct?
Yep. I had to let him go. I'm sorry to all you Tyroyal Smoochie Wallace fans out there, but I had to let him go.
This brings him to
Just,
36 and 35 on the career.
oh
I
boy.
I think the chin is
It's not working anymore. It doesn't really help that he's 40 years old, but
he's got the Chuck Liddell chin now.
oh yeah. I don't think it was granted to begin with, but I don't know.
So we got Darrow picking up the win here. That brings him to 21-6-1. I'm just pulling up his profile here,
Oh
and
yeah.
it'll be interesting to see who he gets next.
Yeah, it's kind of a how do I say it? It's kind of hard to find an opponent for Blair half the time because like see it's gonna go one or two ways, and then how I like to do it is I like to put winners against winners and losers against losers, but sometimes I don't do that. And
Makes sense, but the last guy he got was Doyle,
Jimmy,
and that's the next guy on this card
oh yeah,
who also picked up a win, I believe.
yeah, he did. He beat Sushi. That was another nitpicky thing I had from the first. Um, how do you say it? Edition, the first episode. I don't know how you say it.
I'm not picky, so
I get picky sometimes. I'm sorry. I I pronounce it at sushi because I don't know.
I
It just I just say it how I think it's supposed
that's
to be
just
said.
me. That's just me trying my best at that point.
Yeah,
some
no
of
worries.
some of these names they don't know they're going to be said out loud, so that's just
Yeah.
me going. You guys are really trying to make this hard, aren't you? Um, so I guess as I'm going through the card here, I'll ask you some of the questions that I have in regards to sin itself and kind of you. But how
Yeah.
did my first question would be how did someone like you stumble upon the game necessarily?
Okay, so my father used to play this game. I forget what name he went by when he started, but so I saw it at a very young age. I think I was like I don't remember how old I was when I first saw it, but I might have been like 10 or something. And I'm 18 now, so yeah, that might have been 8 years ago I saw it. Um, yeah, my dad used to be in Sydney quite a lot. He's also the reason Louis De Palma plays this game. Well, maybe not anymore from what I've been hearing. But yeah, my father used to play this. I saw him play one day, and then he was like, "Hey, you should try this game out." I'm like, "Oh, I think I know what game you're talking about. Yeah, I'll give it a try." And now I'm here.
And for all you people listening, my biggest takeaway from that is we have an 18-year-old running Synchronicity.
Yeah.
But hey, if he's doing a good job, I don't care if you're 18 or 80. I really,
I was gonna say I don't know if I was either 17 or 18 when I took over. I think I was 18, but yeah, 18 years old,
for the
taking
rec,
over the number one company.
for
It
the
just goes to show that I really care.
yeah,
So,
yeah. I think the way you've done things, you're into the game, you enjoy it, and you're probably going
yep.
to be around for quite a while. So
Oh yeah.
I think people appreciate you, and as I've seen in the response to my first episode, the community likes new and different things and things that they
Yeah.
can get involved with. So I've gotten a really good response from people.
Oh
And
yeah, you did.
for the record, I'm 28.
Oh wow.
I
Such
start
a 10-year difference.
yeah. I'm 28 and I started playing when I was 19 and played for 3 years and then left. And then came back within the last 6 months or so. So
Yeah,
not
I didn't
too much
play
has
this game.
changed, but I still enjoy it.
Yeah, I didn't play this game until I was in high school.
So Jimmy Doyle picks up the third round KO win. So we got back to back third round KOs. And you guys on my screen here are going to see all my notes from the pre show, from the preview. But I predicted Doyle by decision. And he actually
he
was
knocked
well
him out.
well on his way to doing that. And he got the finish instead.
I know. I'm really impressed with Jimmy Doyle after that.
Had to make a liar out of me.
You probably saw the prediction. He was like, challenge accepted.
Yeah. That's what I feel like half these fighters did. I like Billy and I were talking in regards to Nixon's fight and everything, and I said there are going to be 10 people who listen to this and are very happy, and 10 people who listen to this and are going to be upset that I didn't pick the fighter. So,
But it's all opinion based.
oh
So
yeah, people have been hugely positive to me towards it, so
yeah, exactly.
it motivates you to do more too, which is
It
nice.
motivates you to do a lot more.
And I guess my next question for you, you kind of said that Louis was your mentor,
Yeah, that was before we recorded, wasn't it?
so to speak. Yeah, yeah. You
Yeah.
said to me that Louis kind of took you under your wing, and my big thing is you haven't been around too long, but you are have been around long enough to know what you like and don't like. So
Yeah.
my biggest thing for all of the people who run orgs, and I kind of have positioned this show as a place where the org owners can get promotion and talk about their different fights. But what's your favorite and least favorite thing about running a company in the game?
Ooh, okay. So that's a good question. My most favorite thing is matchmaking. I love just making fights and then seeing how they play out, and then seeing fighters grow or seeing them fall down or see them get back up after. I've always loved that aspect of org owning. Now, what I don't like is managers that give me a hard time. I,
And
I think every org owner goes through that too.
yeah,
Every org owner hates that.
for those of you that don't run orgs, there are some managers who you just know are going to be more dramatic about taking a fight or protecting their fighter than other people. And I don't.
Yeah, it's especially worse in the big three:
I don't.
Sin, CC, and Gamma.
I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. What I think is more troublesome is a lot of managers have squabbles over something like money as opposed to matchups.
Mm-hmm.
And we're paying you what we feel that you're worth and what we can afford, and some people might not like that, but
Mm-hmm.
we're doing what we can to put on a show and also be profitable, because a lot of people, we do this because we want a company to make money.
Yeah.
We don't necessarily do this just to have a good time. I know companies that have lost a lot of money.
I do it for both. I do it because I want to make money somehow, and I also like to have a good time.
Yeah, because you have your own fighters and your own ambitions, and you want to train them to be world-class
Mm-hmm.
fighters, and hopefully one day be at the level where they can fight in the orgs that you own.
Exactly.
So,
It's especially rough with me.
yeah, you have
But
you have to be at the pinnacle. Like, you have to fight in Sin. Like, you said to
you're
me,
gonna need the hype.
you said to me off the record that like every one of your top 20 fighters in the organization is inside the top 100 in the whole game. So
Yeah, like Top 75 too, actually, now that I think
Sin
about it.
is world class. Gamma is world class. CEC is world class. And there are
I'd
others.
say Pulse is getting up there.
Yeah, Pulse and Empire and those guys. I would say second
I'd say
tier.
they're getting up.
Second tier that is close. Um,
Yeah.
we have, I would say, 7 or 8 orgs in the game that are extremely well run, extremely well hyped, have a lot of talent. So,
Mm-hmm.
as much as people, like, I've had people saying, you talking about the game that 5 years ago and you talking about the game now sounds like you're giving a funeral to the game as the way it is now. It's like, well, it's a smaller game and it's a niche thing. Like, not everybody likes MMA, but the community is
Mm.
still vibrant and there are people that still love to run companies and do different things. And I'm just
Oh, yeah.
glad to see a lot of the things that I was familiar with are still here. Sure, orgs are gone and we don't have any new cities from when I left the game or anything like that.
Was the island around when?
The island, I think, was just becoming a thing when I left.
Okay.
Because when I left, they were just doing a big. I could be wrong on that, but they're just doing a thing where escapes and transitions were becoming a trainable
Okay.
stat. Like when I was in the
Okay.
original game, there was no such thing. It was
Oh
all
wow.
it was all defensive grappling and it wasn't separated out.
Oh
So
wow.
transitions wasn't a thing, escapes wasn't a thing. And when you think about it, when I stopped playing in 2013, the oldest fighter in the game was like 35.
I was gonna say, wasn't it like 30 or
Yeah.
somewhere in their 30s?
So that's kind of how the game has changed is fighters, unless they weren't good enough, hadn't really retired yet or hadn't really been trained long enough to become elite guys yet. So to see
Yeah, I was gonna say, I was looking around Sin's history, and the first Sin heavyweight champion was an 18-year-old.
so I mean to come back to the game now and see guys that are elite black belt primaries or something like that, it's like
Yeah.
I'd never seen anything like that before, and I saw a guy like that, and it's like he's fighting in my org, and he's like 16-7, like he's nothing
Uh-huh.
spectacular, you know. So
Yeah.
it's interesting to see, and also shows me how much I'm gonna have to train my guys to be any good at all. Uh,
Yeah.
Next fight we have here: Damian Thorne versus Samuel Douglas. Um, Buddy of mine, Soyster89
Sister.
is Douglas's owner, and he fought some of the Ajax guys
Oh, did he?
over in Dare. Koyambo was a former Ajax guy of mine, and he fought. I think was it Douglas or was it somebody else? It might be another guy. I'm gonna have to pull up Douglas. I might be wrong on that. Yeah,
Hmm.
it was somebody else.
I was gonna say, I think Douglas was always in there,
Yeah,
or Sin Europe, or
I'm
however
get
you want
I'm
to address
getting
that now.
I'm getting the Dare guys confused. It might be. But I am a little concerned about Douglas, even though I picked Thorne to win. Douglas came out and knocked Thorne down and cut him right away, and then just could never capitalize. Got shredded by Thorne.
Yeah, he got cut like crazy. Or
Cut up, and
yeah, he,
I'm opening up Douglas here, and that's his fourth straight KO loss.
yeah, I might give him one more fight, and then if that doesn't work out, then I don't want to do it because I think he could do really well. He's a red belt in jiu-jitsu, but like that's your fifth loss in a row, man. I don't want you
He's lost 7
to
fights.
take.
He's lost 7 fights, and all of them have been finishes.
All of them have been knocked out. All of them
So
have been.
I question the. It says Granite Chin, but he's lost 7 fights by KO. Heavyweight, I've always said the chin is, even if it's a granite,
Eh.
you can run into some heavyweights that can just knock your head off. So I predicted Thorne by second round KO,
This
and
one's the first.
didn't take him that long, but I still got the KO and the right winner. So
Yep.
so
I'll give you
far,
that one.
3-0, and I was doing well at this point.
Hmm.
We'll get to that.
We'll get to the other portion.
Yeah. Next fight is Kavanaugh versus Vineyard. And
Uh,
Vineyard, this was a fight that I was curious about because,
of the age difference.
yeah, Kavanaugh's a 277, Vineyard's a 318.
Hmm.
So I wondered if that would show. And it
Ed.
did.
Hmm.
First
Did.
round knockout for Kavanaugh.
That might have been partially my fault because I put him in with a former champion in Kavanaugh,
Well,
who knocked out one of the previous best featherweights in the world. So
yeah, that's a tough draw for your debut fight, for sure.
I think his against someone else. Yeah, his debut fight was against Archie,
Yeah,
current champion.
Archie, we'll get to Archie.
It's Archie.
So he's 0-2 in the company, but he's fought Archie and Brody.
Yeah, I might see if I can give him someone easier now. See if he can get back into it.
Now, whoever that is going to be listening to this and go, hey, he thinks my guy's easier. Hey,
Challenge accepted.
wait a minute. So I predicted Kavanaugh by decision. I thought Vineyard would hold up a little bit better than that. But
Yeah.
so far, I was reading the commentary on Saturday and going, hey, I've got 4 in a row. Good for me.
Uh-huh. You're doing good so far. This
Yeah,
is what I had pretty much the same predictions as you until the next fight.
right. So, Erickson and Robinson.
This is the fight.
This was an interesting one for me because I said that I felt like Robinson was a guy that he was good.
Mm.
And the losses that he had taken were all to guys that were championship caliber fighters. If
Yeah.
I
Nixon,
look at his
Soko, and
profile, you know,
Nixon, Soko, and Joey.
even the guys that he fought before Sin, like
Oh yeah, Zeph Frazier,
Zeph Frazier, like
Valentin Skogard, Oswald Cobblepot.
if you beat
Even fought Penna.
if
Penna Polkinen.
if you beat Robinson, you're pretty much a championship level fighter. So I felt like this was the proper test for Erickson because Erickson was a guy, he came over from Sin Europe as well, correct?
I think he was, yeah. Yeah, he did.
And we talked about before the recording, but a lot of these Sin Europe guys are holding up extremely well
Oh yeah.
in their new homes,
Mm-hmm.
as we'll see.
Some in Ajax, some in I think Zulu went to Empire. I hope he does really well there. I have a lot of respect for Bwang, so I think Bwang will do really good things with Zulu.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not a guy that has won enough yet to pick up any of the good free agents, but
Me neither. You're not alone.
a lot of these managers at the top, it's like there's a reason they're there.
Mm-hmm.
You talk to them, and it's like sitting under the learning tree.
Oh yeah.
These guys know, and they're willing to adopt too, in the sense that they
They're
realize
willing to teach.
what worked might not work all the time, so they're always
Yeah.
trying out new things and stuff like that
Oh
too.
yeah.
But Robinson really used the clinch effectively in this fight,
Hmm.
and Erickson did attempt to pull guard a couple of times,
Yeah.
but I thought Robinson would take a decision. He ended up
Looked like
getting
he knocked him out.
a late finish. I still think Erickson is going to have a good Sin career, if I had to guess.
Yeah. It's just he had a challenging opponent for his first fight. It was see how well he would do.
But
I think Robinson's next in line after that.
you had Erickson in this fight,
I had Erickson by decision.
so that makes you 4-1 and me 5-0, and I think this is where it starts to go south for both of us.
Yeah.
Now, this one I messed up. This broke my O. But you've got Obuhoff and Gravis,
Latka.
and this was the toughest one for me to pick.
Yeah.
So
I don't.
far.
Yeah. So far, this was a tough one. I think
think
Erickson and Jawan would have also been really tough too.
I think the toughest one for me to pick in the whole card, and I have it in my notes here, was the one we'll get to next in White and Fighter.
Yeah, that was a challenging fight too.
But
The toughest for me was Coker and Nixon. Actually,
yeah, that
was a tough one.
Yeah, but I thought my prediction, I got a little bit more in depth with this one. I thought Obuhoff would take the early rounds and then a late KO would happen.
Yeah, it looked like I was trying to sub him the whole time.
Sub him, and he cut him in the third round, and it kind of ended in the same fashion that Gravis fight with Andreev from Pulse did as well, in the fact that he got taken down quite a few times. Same manager, same sort of strategy.
Yeah.
Ended in a win for both fighters. So 8-4 Gravis now, and Obuhoff is 23-16-1, trying to make a career in the best.
Yep. Obuhov's also next in line. Obuhov's also next in line after that. Long time coming, but I think Obuhov will be next for a middleweight title shot.
Nice. So
yeah,
we've got our last undercard bout, other than the title fights, in Street Fighter and Benson White, otherwise known as Matthew's favorite fighter, according to Ray.
Ray, if you're watching this, I hate you.
It's always his fault.
It's always Ray's fault. Everything is all Ray.
Although, if Budokai is going to run an ad after this review, but
I want to run an ad right now just to one up Ray.
Yeah, synchronicity ad.
Synchronicity, we're better than Budokai.
We'll run the ad over this fight and just skip to the next one. But I will say that poster, I really, really like it. Ray does.
Yeah, Ray does a phenomenal job.
Some of the best work in logos and designs that I've ever seen. He does the Sin posters. He did the logo for this podcast. He made a poster for me for the Puno fight on Saturday.
Ray's phenomenal.
And that was a shocking result for my org as well, and it was nice to have, some big time attention towards that paid by some of the big managers in the game. So nothing but complimentary towards Ray, even though he likes to stir the pot sometimes.
Even though he likes to screw with me a lot.
Yeah, that's okay.
Oh well, I like Ray. As much as I like to smack talk him, he's a great guy. And
Favorite
I always
fighter
love
confirmed. All right.
no.
No,
No way.
no, that's not what I said.
I never said that. My favorite's Murat Magomedov.
Ah,
No, I'm joking. I don't really have a favorite fighter. I like a lot of people, so I can't really choose.
you can tell me after the show. It's okay.
No, I actually don't have a favorite fighter. I'll
So we've got Fighter and White here, and this came down to a split decision. With White kind of pulling away in the later rounds.
Funny story about this fight. I think Ray was talking about. He was like, Ray messaged me after the fight. He was like, "What is Judge Stephen Brown thinking?" Because he said 30-27
Yeah,
for Street Fighter,
turn 30-27 the other way. Yeah.
and then 29-28 for White. And yeah, Ray messaged me. He's like, "What is Stephen Brown thinking?" I'm like, "Oh, Cecil Peoples, how's it going?" If you don't know who Cecil Peoples is, he's a very bad real life MMA judge.
Yes.
Uh, some of
Bad
his.
MMA judge, bad MMA official.
I always
Bad.
love that moment when he tries to stop the fight and he lies down on both the fighters.
It's
He's like, "I'm stopping it, guys. I'm stopping it."
That's
Oh, he's also a bad movie actor.
that's probably the most athletic thing he's done. So
I'm stopping it. I'm stopping it.
so Benson White picks up
Looking at
a
the
win here.
commentary, it looks like Street Fighter is the favorite fighter looking. It's like, yeah, it says, I think Fighter might be my favorite fighter.
Ah. Did
Take
you
that, Ray.
did you write that? Are you,
I didn't write that.
okay.
I blame Mike.
Yeah. Mike's playing
All Mike's
favorites.
fault. Mike playing favorites, and I think he's still making his bathroom, isn't he?
The last time I saw, he was putting the tile down. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
No disrespect to White. I'm just
for all of you watching the YouTube video right now, I am showing Stephen Brown's scorecard on my screen for all you people that can.
That's also when you start putting a picture of Cecil Peoples on top of it.
I'm not that talented.
I can try it.
So we've got our title fights next. And
by the title fights, this is when everything goes downhill.
So I'm 6-1, and I am about to go 0-3 on these three title fights.
I'm 5-2, and I'm about to go 0-3. We had the same predictions for pretty much the whole card, except for one fight.
Yeah. So I had St. Pedro by decision, and Archie showed up, and
Archie proved he was a tough guy.
Yeah.
That's all I can say.
I had my doubts. I thought St. Pedro's in his prime. He's going to show this guy who's boss, and nope.
No, Archie Griffiths pulling up probably a major upset, in my opinion. That was a major upset.
Very rarely can you say the champ got the upset, but yeah.
But
I think
knowing the hype,
to basically take 4 rounds
against a fighter like that who previously beat Street Fighter, who I think at the time was the Sin Featherweight champion.
Griffiths, based on volume, just he threw 62 leg kicks, 74 head punches. He was the more active guy, and as I'm looking at the stats right now, and nobody attempted a takedown in the entire fight.
This was just a stand-up war.
So this was purely a kickboxing match, and Archie got it done. So that's
he did get it done.
Title defense for him, and huge hype gain for him.
Oh yeah. I think next Archie Griffiths is supposed to defend the title against Blake Green. So,
Oh, that'll be a fun one.
oh yeah, see if Blake can get back and see if
Yeah,
he can come back with the gold.
I've always thought that Blake was one of the best in the weight class,
Oh yeah, there was a
uh,
time where he became number one pound for pound,
bar none. And
and then Street Fighter
Spazzy
happened.
Spazzy Bob is one of the managers I very much respect. Uh,
Silent Bob, you mean?
yeah,
Spence Bob.
yeah. Spazzle is his forearm name.
Ah, okay,
So I just call him
I get it
Spazzle Bob. But yeah, I respect him very much. So it'll be interesting to see if Green can climb to back to the top of the mountain.
Oh yeah, I hopefully I can have a lightweight title versus featherweight title fight again. I've always liked doing those kind of fights in Sin, where you have two champions going at it in a super fight.
Right,
That could be fun if it were to ever happen again.
right.
I was planning on doing it with the two winners, with the two champions of the next two events, but obviously that's not going to happen anymore. Spoiler alert! But
So we've got
completely ruined my plans.
Nixon versus Joey here,
Otherwise known as Billy's least favorite fight.
and yeah, the trilogy fight, John and
Mm.
Billy,
John Coffey and Billy Arsworth,
and
two exceptional managers too.
I just realized that I've got mail, so you saw that on my screen.
You got mail.
I did. So Nixon is just one of my favorite fighters because I'm always fascinated at what some people can come up
Mm.
with bios and personalities and give their fighters some character. And that to
Mm-hmm.
me, that avatar, that everything, that bio, that everything is so.
You seen the interview I had with Nixon?
I haven't seen that. No.
It's on Synchronicity's face off or it's Smack Talk thread. Let me pull it up here real quick. Yeah, found it. Yeah. I think I had another thread that was just in interviews, and then I had one with Nixon, and it was really funny interview I had. There's one before that had Nixon on it. That was to promote his fight with Orlando, and I had one with Nixon. I think it was supposed to. Yeah, I was against Joey for the first time. I had an interview with Nixon. It was hilarious.
I just
Probably my favorite interview.
I just always like creativity. So
Hmm.
and
Yeah,
this fight, the trilogy fight, that's it was a close fight and a lot
very
of
close fight.
clinch work,
Yeah.
which is something that I thought we'd see in the fight.
Hmm.
Um, it
With
was
Nixon, especially.
it was one of those fights that you could argue was tied going into the fifth, and Joey just took that
Joey,
last round, according to the
yeah.
judges anyway. And
Hmm.
according to the end commentary here, just reading through the 5 rounds, they do think Joey took the fight. So they do
Yeah.
think that Joey deserved the victory, but I wasn't surprised to see a split decision. My prediction was a split decision the other way,
Yeah, for Nixon.
so I can't even give myself half a point on that because I got the method of victory right, but
Hmm.
picked the wrong guy.
Yeah, I thought Nixon was gonna win too. I thought there's no way Nixon's gonna lose yet another trilogy. I mean, he beat ODB in a trilogy,
And
and here comes Joey Coker and says, "Nope, you're gonna lose this one." And
and for the record, anybody that, the fighters that we pick against in these situations, if you're in Sin, you're the best. Like, if you're fighting for a Sin title, you're
You're one of the best in the world.
yeah, you're a top of the top guys, and we mean no offense to any managers if we pick against your fighter. Like, I respect John a ton, and
Mm-hmm.
as I said in a couple of these fights before, we've got former number one managers all over the place on this card.
Yeah.
So it was really, really tough to see because these guys,
It's tough to predict pretty much any fight in Sin
you know,
because you never know what's going to happen.
everybody knows what they're doing in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
And then with that, speaking of
Main
fights
event.
that were tough to predict,
The main event.
main event debuting Wesley Correa from Sin Europe against
Versus number one fighter Kimbo Slice.
number one heavyweight in the world, Kimbo Slice.
I was
Both
gonna
these
say it was
guys,
either Kimbo or Puno. Kimbo or Puno was the number one heavyweight at that time. I think it was Kimbo though. Yeah,
yes,
it is Kimbo.
yes,
Eight pound for pound.
Puno was number two, and they both lost on the same day. So
I
that
know.
so
And
that
then Wesley shot up to number one after this fight.
so the heavyweight rankings got a real shakeup on Saturday.
Oh yeah.
And pre-fight, both these guys have really solid chins. Will this be a stand-up war, or will they decide that a knockout is unlikely? Well,
Um, I think Wesley saw that and he was like, you know what I'm gonna say? Challenge accepted, and he beat the living piss out of Kimbo.
I have. I was number one. I was shocked. Number
I,
two, I have never seen Kimbo take that much of a beating in a fight. I've seen him lose rounds, but this fight, and it ends in a third round uh,
straight up
TK,
knockout.
straight up KO for Wesley. But Kimbo got cut twice in this fight. He
Got rocked,
he got
and he got
rocked,
knocked down twice.
and he got knocked down twice, and then he got KO'd after that. So you could argue that he took half a dozen shots that could have dropped him in this fight. And for a guy with a chin that good, Wesley's got some of the biggest power I've seen.
Wesley's a monster. I didn't believe Wes until now. I remember Steph messaging me. He's like, yo, give me this fight with Kimbo. I think Wes is going to be the best heavyweight in the world. And he sounded so confident. I was like, okay, let's see what happens. I think Kimbo's going to win, but after that fight, it really just showed that I shouldn't have doubted Wesley. I honestly doubted him. And then he pulls that. I'm like, what the hell?
Now, I think the biggest question for me is, I've seen so many fighters in Tycoon put in a performance like this and then lose their next fight. We hype them up like crazy, like, never should have doubted him, never should have doubted him. He's going to be the best. And then they come in and lay an egg in their first title defense. Who's going to be the guy to stop this guy, though? I mean, heavyweight division is super tough because anybody can knock anybody else out, I think, in the heavyweight division. Chins matter a lot less.
I've got three names. I've got three names that could potentially knock down Wesley. The first is Rocco Marciano, because he's beaten Wesley in the past. He lost to Wesley the first time, and then they had a draw, and then Rocco beat him by split decision.
So they're all even.
Yeah, they're 1-1-1. If Rocco can beat Mushmouth, that could possibly be the fight to make. But that brings to number two, Soko Chikachwan. who is a monster in his own right. He lost to Kimbo by knockout, but I think Wang is good enough because whenever he loses a fight, he just gets this really big winning streak up again. So, or he gets at least a winning streak again. And then puts himself back in the title contention. I think Soko, Rocco, or maybe Kimbo again.
You and I were talking earlier and saying that we think, or you think, that I have unlocked the secret to beating Kimbo Slice.
Yeah.
You
You be bald and you have tattoos.
Yeah,
That's all you need.
You just have to have an avatar of a big bald guy because
Bald and have tattoos.
he just got destroyed by Wesley. He's lost 3 times to Rocket Bob.
Rocket formula.
Kimbo Slice, the heavyweight, is one of the best fighters in Tycoon, and he got made to look very, very ordinary, which was surprising to me.
That I've never seen that happen.
And
I'm looking at all of Kimbo's past losses. They're all, well, I think except one, they're all bald.
Yeah.
Yeah, only one was not bald, and that was Obli de Gaulle.
I think that's it. I think we figured it out. I think we got it.
Figured it out. You need to be bald, and that's it.
I've got.
You need to be bald.
I was talking to you earlier about the Puno fight that I mentioned before. Puno and Helmuth Jr. Helmuth Jr., I think he's 39-8 now after the Puno fight, and he's 39 wins, 39 KO TKOs.
That is crazy.
He's never won by sub or by decision. So he's
actually, that reminds me of someone else too. Sin's super heavyweight champion, Orpheus Boagrius, or however you pronounce his name.
And he's got the hip hop fight coming up, right?
Yeah, and he's got 35 knockouts, TKOs. So he's never won by a sub or decision. He's 35 knockouts to his name.
There are some guys that they'll hit you and you'll go down. Otherwise, they lose.
Yeah, and they're crazy guys out in the Tycoon world.
Especially when they're that heavy, got that much weight behind their punches. Wesley could be one of those guys where it's like, if he hits you, you're dead. No matter how good your chin is.
And to think, Orpheus won the super heavyweight title back from Lansar by a spinning back fist.
And that was Brad too, yeah. Big Larry. So,
yeah, Big Larry's Brad Lansar.
That's I'm picturing that fight right now. That's just Donkey Kong. That's just
Orpheus. I think Orpheus got the formula too.
Yeah, big bald guy.
Big bald guy.
Oh,
Let's put him against Slice.
Look out, Kimbo. We found another one.
No disrespect to Devin, but
no.
I think we found it. No. We found the way to beat Kimbo.
Yeah, the secret formula. So that's since 618. We both got all the title fights wrong. So it'll be interesting. I'm not sure at this point in time what the next card I'm going to preview for any org is. I know Empire has shown some interest in having some of their bigger cards previewed. But this is
do the League of Leagues finals.
we can talk. I don't know if I can get a show out that quick. That's Saturday, right?
Yeah, it's a Saturday. We can that or there's 2 Sin cards the week after. There's ODB versus Junkyard Dog and Orlando Diggs versus Dave Waremouth.
Well, now that I own Zenith, I've got some sponsorship interest in some of those fights too, so that's interesting for me. But
I think if I were to prefer one, I'd say the Diggs Waremouth fight. The Diggs Waremouth card is much better. but it's personal preference, right? There's a
Yeah.
Buddy B fight and a Diggs fight on the same week.
And as everybody said, this is kind of a situation where they want the big orgs to get featured, they want the small orgs to get featured. I want to do as much of this as possible. It's just a
Yeah,
matter
I'm
of,
I'm fine if you want to use small orgs too. It's fine to give them some attention as well.
well, it's just a matter of,
And it also gets me interested in small orgs too.
for sure.
Because right now the only small orgs I'm really interested in are Empire, Pride, and Budokai. And Pulse, in a way.
And for me, it's like, as I've said, I said this before I brought you on in part one of the show, but for me, it's a situation of this takes a normal show in order to edit, record, produce,
Yeah.
and upload and put out. It can take 5, 6, 7 hours a show. So it's a matter of, you know, this is something that I like doing, but I also don't want to do it for free. So it's coming up with a plan for those small orgs, um, just to get them noticed and
Yeah.
be fairly compensated for work, just like a writer would, for example.
I
But
would like I would be excited if you did a Budokai preview.
yeah,
Budokai is
Budokai's
one of my
Budokai's definitely on my radar for future previews. Uh,
one of my favorite orgs that isn't Sin is Budokai.
he puts so much work into his logos and fighter profiles and interviews and that sort of stuff.
I
So
know.
when I
It's one of the actual forum Smack Talk threads that I actually read full on. I just
and
love Budokai.
talking to him about Budokai, it's one of those orgs that it embraces creativity,
Hmm.
and I
That's why I love reading it so much. It's
and
so
I
creative.
I know a few of the orgs have talked to me about like rates and plugs and how much money do I have to pay you and all this stuff. And I was talking to Ray about the Budokai previews, and I said I'm happy to plug Budokai if I can get some posters for Pride, and we can just swap different things. So we might go that route, and I give some spotlight to some Budokai cards in exchange for some artwork because, as we mentioned, I love the work that he does too.
Yeah,
So
especially with the Budokai Featherweight Grand Prix finals.
any
Super good for that.
any way that we can help the community grow and provide more interest to the hundreds of people that play this game, then we'll do that. Like I noticed the first episode of this show, I've had it up for a week now. It's got, I think, 70 something views on it. And honestly, I was
Stuff.
expecting like 10 people, but it,
I
it got a really good response. And I hope that future shows get the same sort of excitement behind them. And I'd like to
hope I can
do
come back.
for every card that I do a preview for, I'd also like to at least, if it's not on the actual show, I'd like to be in the forum and keep a running tally of how my predictions do. And then at the end of the year in 2019 or something, I'll add them all up and go, here's my total. I got 6 out of every 10 or something like that.
Yeah,
So
that goes to that.
I'd like to keep a running tally of all the cards and go, okay, am I, Jimmy the Greek? Do I know my stuff? Or am I as useless as some of the rest of you? In predict, I'm sure there'll be a card one day where I preview it. And I feel so confident about it, and I end up going 2-8. And I was like, "Oh, that was a bad day."
Yeah, we all have those.
But the first one went pretty well up until the last 3 fights. Um, so, and
Yeah,
it's,
and we all have those days.
I will say that both the Archie fight and the Kimbo fight were extremely definitive victories. So,
And they were also very shocking victories too.
yeah, yeah. So, I want to thank you, Matt, personally, for
Oh,
coming on the
for
show
having
and
me.
doing this.
Thanks for having me.
And thank you for Sin's support and doing this long term too. And
Yeah,
uh,
of course. I'll come back whenever you need me to. I can be a co-host if you'd like, or
as I said before, I've talked to pretty much all the orcs, but the reason Sin got the first show was uh, it was the biggest card and the best card, and they were the first who asked. So it was a pretty
exactly.
easy decision on my part. Was they were front of the line and they had a big, huge show to promote, and why start at the bottom when you can just cheat your way to the top?
You're lucky I'm so nice.
Yeah. So thank you guys for listening, and I appreciate everybody who's come out today. Thanks again to Matt. Thanks again to
No
Ray for
problem.
the podcast logo. Thanks to all my sponsors. This week we've got HGH Nutrients, we've got Atticus University London, we've got Urban Fighter, we've got Budokai. All you guys who have run spots during the show, I appreciate you and thank you for your support. Hopefully, I can get a third show out before the end of the month, but we'll have to see. Probably be coming around March 1st or so, depends how much time I have. But thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time, guys.
See you, everyone.